How much money should you have saved at every age in order to be prepared for retirement? It's critically important to know where you currently stand so you can make adjustments if needed. Are you way ahead of the game and headed towards a cushy early retirement, or do you have some catching up to do? By taking a look at what an individual should have put away depending on age, you can see where you currently stand. Take a look at how much you should have set aside by each age in order to retire at 65. My name is Chris, and I help teach people about money, personal finance, and investing. If you want to become financially free and never have to worry about money, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you find it helpful. Age 20. Don't worry about having much money saved at this age. Instead, do your absolute best to avoid getting into any debt. If you must borrow money for college, go to a school within your budget and work your way through with a job. Don't make the mistake that many young adults do of acting like college is a time to spend carelessly. Resist the temptation to buy a brand new car financed over 60, 72, or 84 months. The excitement will wear off in no time, but the payments keep coming in for years. Keep your living costs as low as possible by staying with family or renting an inexpensive place. Lastly, look into opening a retirement account like a Roth IRA. You don't need to have thousands of dollars to begin. Just investing $50 or $100 will help you gain some experience as an investor. Age 25. Half of 1 year's income. Ideally, by the time you reach your mid-20s, you'll have about half of 1 year's income set aside for retirement. If your income is $50,000 per year, you should aim to have $25,000 in retirement. This is certainly an achievable amount if you're careful with your spending. However, don't worry if you're not quite there. It takes time to get established financially for various reasons. You're just beginning your career, and your income probably doesn't leave a large amount for saving. Student loans must be paid down if you borrowed money to go to college, and rent can easily consume a large amount of your budget. In addition, you might be faced with other large costs, like a car replacement, making saving for retirement the last thing on your mind. Prioritize keeping your expenses as low as possible so you can work on getting settled and increasing your income. Age 30. 1 year of income. By the age of 30, you should aim to have an entire year's income in investments. If your income is $50,000, you should have about that much set aside for your future. Most people this age are probably more concerned with making any loan payments, purchasing a home, or starting a family. Buying a house can also be an incredible investment for your future, but you shouldn't kick the idea of investing to the curb when you do so. Put another way, don't spend the entirety of your income. When looking at your earnings and your bills, make sure to leave room for at least 10% of your income for investments. If you're behind, you still have plenty of time to catch up, and this can be done within reason with some smart financial moves. Age 35. 2 times your income. By age 35, you should try to have 2 times your annual income invested. With an income of $50,000, this means you should have about $100,000 saved, which is reasonable if you're careful when it comes to spending money. When you're in your 30s, you might be tempted to keep up with your friends buying new cars and homes, but this will only hold you back. Keeping housing costs in check and avoiding large amounts of debt make this savings amount easily achievable. Age 40. 5 times your income. Upon reaching your 40s, you should have around 5 times your income in retirement. With a $50,000 income, this would be about $250,000. If you began investing a decade or two ago, this should be quite easy, while those who didn't begin until later will find it difficult. Don't worry if you're behind, because you still have plenty of time to catch up if you begin to take saving seriously. During this period of your life, it's crucial to resist the urge to keep up with the Joneses by upgrading your home and buying brand new cars in order to look rich. Age 50. 10 times your income. By the time you reach the age of 50, you should try to have about 10 times your income in retirement. With an income of $50,000, this would equate to $500,000. That can be a little intimidating, but by this time, compound interest far surpassed any amount you'd be contributing to your portfolio. If you have $500,000 invested in the S&P 500, it would grow an average of $50,000 each year. Large amounts of compound interest, in addition to the fact that your income is probably at career highs, makes it easy to make large amounts of progress. Age 60, 20 times your income. As you get very close to the typical retirement age at 60 years old, someone who's almost ready to retire should have about 20 times their income in investments. With a $50,000 income, that means $1 million. With compound interest on your side, this should certainly be achievable. Once you have this much saved, you can begin to make adjustments and even stop investing entirely if you're on track to surpass the amount needed. Age 65, 25 times your income. By age 65, or typical retirement age, you should have 25 times your retirement income needed. If you plan on living on $50,000 per year, you should have about $1,250,000 invested. Having 25 times your income invested means you can now withdraw 4% of your portfolio every single year without running out of money and without relying on other income streams. It's recommended that you invest 15% of your income for retirement, and chances are that if you do this, you're going to be very wealthy. Beginning to do this early on in your career is one of the best moves you can make. Setting aside that large of a percentage of your income can be intimidating at first, but you can start with 5% or even less. If you're just beginning, don't worry about how much you're setting aside, just focus on starting. You can always work your way up as you earn more money and get better at finding ways to cut out wasteful spending. When you make intelligent choices when it comes to keeping your expenses in check and finding ways to increase your income, you'll be surprised at just how easy it can be. These numbers should simply serve as a guideline, particularly for younger individuals who want to make sure they're on track when it comes to saving for retirement. In reality, most people don't have anywhere near these amounts saved. When you're young, your priority should be making small moves that will snowball over time. For example, investing just 5% or 10% of your income should be a priority. Of course, there are other variables to take into account based on your situation. These figures are based on withdrawing 4% of your portfolio each year during retirement. For years, 4% has been considered a safe withdrawal rate, meaning you can spend that much of your portfolio each year. Others will choose to withdraw more and others will choose to withdraw less, but this is something you should look into and decide for yourself. When do you want to retire? If you plan on retiring before age 65, you're going to want to adjust these numbers so you can become financially independent and reach 25 times your annual spending at a much younger age. This can seem like an insurmountable task, but it's easier than you'd think. By minimizing your spending, it becomes much easier to amass a large enough nest egg to cover your expenses. As you plan for retirement, it's also important to consider tax obligations. If all of your savings is locked inside a 401k or traditional IRA, you need to be aware of how that's going to impact your retirement income. You might end up paying 30% or more of your income to tax. On the other hand, a Roth IRA won't be subject to any further income tax when you retire. As you can tell, these are two very different scenarios. All account types have their pros and cons, but planning for taxes to the best of your ability will allow you to be more accurate. Income from Social Security is also something you should account for. If your expected Social Security payout is substantial, you might not need anywhere close to 25 times your income in order to retire. Some people live on Social Security income alone and don't even touch their retirement savings. However, you can't even begin to collect it until a certain age. Just something else to think about. Don't worry if your savings aren't in line with the numbers outlined in the video. These are ideal scenarios for someone who wants to retire at a typical retirement age. If you're behind, don't be intimidated by the amounts you should have. Just concern yourself with setting a little bit aside. By implementing this habit from the start, you'll be surprised at just how much progress you make.